3, 2, 1.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
Want to get your hands on some sports knowledge?
Hell yes!
You're in the right place.
Good morning.
Is everybody ready?
Welcome to the Daily Sports Watch on Schultzy Sports.
What is going on, sports fans? Happy Tuesday, March 14th, 12:07 p.m. here on the Daily Sports Watch. Been a bit, apologize, had a lot of fill-in shifts here locally in Portland at 1080 The Fan, and, well, with this time of year, you know what that means. A lot of people taking vacations, but at the same time, spring break going on, but at the same time is that lots of stuff happening in the world of sports. Of course, March Madness, 2 days away. Hope you filled your bracket out. What's going on? Theodore Mullins in the chat. Brad Selden says, give it to me. Center Hill in the chat as well. What is up to everybody? So much happening in the world of basketball, free agency, and football starting. Aaron Rodgers most likely going to be on the move, so we've got that to talk about. But it's been quite a week. Last week was not streaming at all. Apologies, but had quite the fill-in opportunity at 1080 The Fan locally. Hosted my first sports radio show as like a day part on 1080 ever, and it was sublime. It was out of sight. Appreciate the people that made the positive comments to me and well wishes in the Discord. You can go join the Discord for free. It is linked down in the description of the YouTube live streams. Of course, we got this out on YouTube Live. We got it on Twitter Live as well as a podcast. Pretty much any podcast destination that you can find stuff on, Apple, Spotify, it's everywhere. So go grab it. But like I said, man, it's a loaded week of sports. A Tuesday, March 14th, absolutely chock full of moves around the NFL. Jimmy G, notably, being the biggest one, going to the Raiders on top of a ton of other quarterback movement. But really, basketball happening. We're about, I'd say most teams have about 15 games remaining in the regular season. March Madness, though, really is the top story. Thanks, Keds. Appreciate it. Congrats on the gig. Thanks, man. It was just a fill-in. It was a one-off, but hopefully it turns into something more regular going forward. I'll tell you what, man, that was a monkey that I had to get off my back, and it was a huge day professionally and personally for me. You guys, I think you understand, just sometimes in life when you're trying to do something or attain a certain goal, and it just takes you a bit longer than you thought it would. What's going on? David Lupos says, what's up, Schultzy? How's it hanging? How's the sports radio treating you? Fantastic. Actually was able to fill in just talking about it on a radio show noon to 3 for a couple of guys called Danny and Dusty on 1080 The Fan. Myself and another guy named Will Ortner took the reins for that show on Friday. It was sublime. It was a blast. And I know I'm biased. I mean, you can go listen if you want. You can find the podcast anywhere on 1080thefan.com or the Odyssey app. Or you can also go and find on any of the other podcast apps. You can just search Danny and Dusty and check it out yourself and take a listen. But I thought I knocked it out of the park. It was kind of one of those moments in your life, as I was just talking about, things take a little bit longer to happen for you. Things kind of just not going at the speed that you think they're going to in your professional life and your career, but it happened. And something huge as far as, getting me kind of through like a ceiling in my career and in my industry, putting me up into a different conversation as far as gigs are going and, what's available to me for opportunities. That was really huge on Friday, so appreciate all y'all. And I gotta say, I'm mentioning this because it is the streaming that I've done for the Target mornings for the past, essentially year and a half, and then talking just kind of sports in between, waiting for cards to drop. It's because all y'all watching gave me the confidence to do this, kind of really helped me get my chops together, kind of really get right as far as talking goes, laying out an argument, being chill about it, being able to think, not speed it up too fast in my head, along with a couple of other great bits of advice from a couple of mentors of mine, especially one recently. But just a good feeling on Friday. It all just got right in my head. It all clicked, and it was an amazing Friday. So go back and listen to that on. You can find it on the Odyssey app or 1080thefan.com. That is the local sports radio station in Portland that I work at. But enough about me. March Madness is here. March Madness is absolutely less than 48 hours away now. It's like it is so close. It is absolutely upon us. We're looking at, I think the play-in games start in a few hours. Got 4 tourney playing games for March Madness. Have you filled your bracket out yet? I want to know. You know, I was actually really lucky a few years ago. I didn't have time. I wanted to post it up on the screen while I was talking about it, but I just didn't have time to get it into the system in time. But I was lucky enough a few years ago to have a perfect NCAA bracket on day one, a perfect day one bracket. So 16 games, 16-0. It was for a bracket that I had filled out for my previous employer's work pool at the time. And yeah, so place called Alpha Media. I want to say it was about 4 or 5 years ago. This was a couple years before the pandemic. I was lucky enough to grab a perfect day one bracket. And I unfortunately didn't put any cash on any of those games. I mean, could you imagine? Sorry about that. Could you imagine, just working with the throat today, what a payout on a 12-game parlay for odds of college basketball games on day one of the NCAA tournament? If you hit all those, I actually went and looked. If I had bet a 12-game parlay on all those, it would have been with like a $10 bet, something like an $80,000 payout, just something ridiculous. What's up, Blaze One Sports? As Trey Wingo reported that Rodgers got traded yesterday, but no one else did. Yeah, Blaze One, we'll get into that. It doesn't quite seem like the Aaron Rodgers deal is quite done. I saw a report today from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk that Jets and Packers kind of at a standstill, playing maybe a game of chicken a little bit, trying to figure out exactly what value is going to work for both teams in that trade. The deal's going to happen. It's just not quite done yet, but we'll get into that, Blaze One. Let's go on. Macamania in the chat says, yo, what's up, brother? Good to see you, Macamania. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate every single one of you true fans checking in here for the Daily Sports Watch here on Real Schultzy Sports. Yeah, Macamania is still a rumor as of right now. It is still technically a rumor, but it is going to happen. I mean, I have a report here. We'll get into it in just a second. I have a report that just came out, I think, a few minutes ago, talking about the Aaron Rodgers wish list. That's right. Aaron Rodgers already has a wish list for the New York Jets, and it includes Odell Beckham, OBJ. And that was something recent that I really didn't get to prep much before the show started, but we're going to preview it. Aaron Rodgers, if he lands with the New York Jets, the ESPN article says from Rich Cimini, if he lands with the New York Jets, he would like to be surrounded by some of his BFFs. That is the headline and the first line of the ESPN story, so we'll get into that. But back to college basketball. Yeah, wondering if y'all have filled your brackets out yet. Yeah, as I said, I was very lucky to pull off a undefeated day one a few years ago, but was so stupid, not smart enough to put money down on it. A $10 bet would have paid out something. I remember doing the math, like $80,000, putting it back in like for that day's odds. And it just, to this day, upsets me. You know, one of those times where you could have gotten struck by lightning. You could have hit the lottery in a sense. I love those lottery tickets. And we do have your daily DGen picks coming up. So don't you worry. We're not going to be missing anything as far as picks today. Kind of gets a little tougher when you get into the actual NCAA tournament to make picks. You just kind of base it on, honestly, you shouldn't really, in my opinion, bet too far away from what your bracket is as far as results go. So don't stray away from, you've got a certain team making it to the Sweet 16. I would put cash on them to make the Sweet 16. I don't think you want to confuse yourself too much, and it's a little bit convoluted if you end up doing too many different bets. It's almost like the dude that fills out 35 brackets, and it's like, oh, well, I've got a bracket for if all the 12 seeds make it to the Sweet 16, then I've also got a bracket for the 16 seed in the West region beating the 1 seed and making it to the Elite 8, and then I also have, it just gets so convoluted. Pretty crazy, and that's why I would champion, along with the reason of me getting a day one perfection done a few years ago of a March Madness tourney bracket, and unfortunately not able to make any money off of it. But another random question really quickly before we get into the daily playbook. Do the daily playbook every day here on Real Schultzy Sports, the top 5 sports stories of the day. I'll give you a hint. The top story is going to be Jimmy Garapolo, but lots of other news as well. Some interesting news popping up that I think y'all would be very interested in. That's coming up here in a couple minutes in the daily playbook. But also random college basketball question, and we'll get more into this in what grinds my gears today. But Why do teams call timeouts in the last 5 seconds of a game that's already decided? I mean, as we get into March Madness, what's going on, S3 Nano? Good to see you. Says, hey, what's up, Schultzy? The sports room says, Schultzy, good to see your beautiful mug, my man. What is going on, guys? Chris from the sports room checking in. How you doing, Chris? Good to see y'all. If you are in the Portland, Oregon area, guys, you got to go check out the sports room. That is the best local card shop around this area. We've got like 2, well, technically 3 if you want to include the outskirts of Gresham, Oregon, in the Portland, Oregon area, and then a couple up in Vancouver. Chris from the sports room, guys, got to go see him. Check him out. Good to see your beautiful mug. I appreciate you for saying that, man. I actually was going to stop by here soon, so you'll be seeing my mug in person. Appreciate you giving me some support, though. But I do want to know if y'all find college basketball as boring as I do. That's kind of the subject of what grinds my gears today. And one of those questions really leading me to that argument is, why do teams call timeouts in the last 5 seconds of a game that's already decided? Why? I was watching the USC-Arizona State game. It was, I think, a Pac-12, either semifinal or just the game before the semifinal matchup of a Pac-12 tournament last week, and Arizona State ended up winning. It was, still kind of close in the last 5-6 minutes of the game, but by 2 minutes or less, it was about a 6 to 8 point lead for Arizona State. And this isn't like the NBA. If you don't watch much college basketball, you know, the NBA, 6 to 8 points doesn't really mean a lot. That could disappear very, very quickly with the way that they score in professional basketball. But in college, a 6 to 8 point lead is a lot harder. It's a lot easier to protect and a lot harder for the team down to circumvent that. And pretty much with 2 minutes or less than that to go in that game, it had already been decided that Arizona State was going to get the win. However, you've got teams calling timeouts in the last 30, 20 seconds of the game when it's a 6-7 point lead by Arizona State. Why is a coach trying to coach through that? What do you tell your players? You're wasting time. It just boggles my mind, and I can't stand that aspect of college basketball as well as a couple of others. So we'll get into why I think college basketball is so boring and what grinds my gears about it coming up here soon. And I appreciate everybody that is in the chat already. And as I say, I appreciate everybody in the chat. It looks like JML Experience, dude. Holy S, man. Making a $9.99 super chat. Bro, I appreciate you. The JML Experience says, support those that support you. What is up, JML? Appreciate you, man. Before we get into the daily playbook, would be remiss if I did not mention JML is killing it at breaks now. He is absolutely killing it. And if you are still wanting to buy into breaks, guys, JML's price points are so low. They are awesome. Good deals. And I highly encourage anybody that is looking for somebody that they need to find that is trustworthy and somebody that is fun in the world of sports cards to go do business with JML. So, JML, I appreciate you, man. You are the GOAT. That, bro, man, those super chats, you guys just make me tingly. You give me the good feels when you do that. So that is just too kind of you, brother. I appreciate you for sending that. And it looks like David Lupo says JML in the house. SSS Pat says JML the GOAT. Exactly. JML is the llama, says Macamania. Darn tootin'. Everybody, if you want to get in on the conversation in the chat, you can post a comment or a question about any topics that you would like. But right now, as we get into real Schultzy Sports and the Daily Sports Watch, let's get you the Daily Playbook, top 5 sports stories of the day. You rock, JML. Appreciate you. Love you, buddy.
Looking for the top 5 sports stories of the day?
Can someone please tell me what's going on?
Information is power.
News.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Look no further.
Okay, settle down, Spaz.
It's the Daily Playbook on the Daily Sports Watch.
Number 5.
All right, number 5 story in the world of sports today. Trevor Bauer, that is right. Former Cy Young winner signing with a Japanese baseball team. A former Cy Young Award winner in Trevor Bauer signing a 1-year contract with NPB's Yokohama Dana Bay Stars. I hope I said that right. Bauer suspended for 194 games and released by the Los Angeles Dodgers in January for allegations of sexual assault leveled against him. Despite the allegations, multiple Japanese teams considered signing Bauer after he expressed interest in playing there last year, only expressing interest in playing there because doesn't look like anybody in MLB was going to pick him up. Bauer posted a 2.59 ERA in his first and only season with the Dodgers, has a very impressive 83-69 career record with a 3.79 ERA over 10 years of a Major League Baseball career. Of course, a Cy Young award in that mix as well. So, Trevor Bauer getting another chance. I knew he was going to get a chance somewhere. I just didn't think it was going to be MLB baseball. So, Trevor Bauer getting another shot for the Dana Bay Stars. We'll see if he can make his way back to MLB baseball. I don't know how much money he's going to be making in Japan, but I'll tell you what, this is just a save your career move at this point and just wanting to continue to play baseball. Anywhere that is going to pay him, he's going to go try to show off what MLB teams are missing out on. All right, number four. Number four, top story in the world of sports. 3 backup quarterbacks finding new homes today. 49ers agreeing to a 1-year deal with former Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold. That was a little surprising to me. Darnold looking to rebuild his career after struggling, of course, with the Jets and the Panthers. Looked a little bit better with the Panthers in 2021. 13 interceptions, 9 touchdowns, 4-2 record with them with him at the helm with them for their final 6 games in 2022, but he ended up losing the starting job, of course, after he had initially showed up from being traded to the Jets to the Panthers. So his time was pretty tumultuous there. He hadn't really established a good base, was able to show a little bit on the way out the door, but you go back to remembering when he was traded there, he was supposed to be the starter, and it ended up going pretty terrible for him in Carolina. Pretty much the same that it did in New York for him with the Jets. Interesting that he signs with San Francisco, though, because I do believe there is a shot for him to grab some more games if maybe, say, Josh Johnson, if Trey Lance and Brock Purdy are not ready. Josh Johnson moving on. And also Taylor Hinkie signing with the Atlanta Falcons and Mike White going to the Miami Dolphins. Interested to see how Heineke is going to be, or how long he's going to be sitting behind Desmond Ridder. Ridder has, I think, 4 starts under his belt after his rookie season in 2022. I don't think he's the answer in Atlanta. I think it's going to end up being a pretty similar situation to Jason Campbell was in Washington, where they deemed him the guy, wasted time on him. So no shot for Heineke in Washington. Ended up going to Atlanta to try to grab some time. And I think he'll be grabbing some starts here soon, maybe game 4 or 5. That's just my prediction. And, of course, some NFL stars on the move. Javon Hargrove to the 49ers. He signed a massive deal, 4 years, $84 million, $40 million in guarantees, coming off of a huge season, 11 sacks in 2022, 10 tackles for loss as well. Just what a massive contract for Hargrave. Congratulations to him. He joins Nick Bosa and Javon Kinlaw and Arik Armstead on the 49ers defensive line. Their defense just got a lot better. The Bears signing Tremaine Edmonds as well. 4 years, $72 million contract, making it the largest contract for an inside linebacker in the NFL. All right, number 2 story in the world of sports. Ja Morant, I'm a little bit behind here. We're kind of rambling. There's a lot to talk about in the world of sports. Number 2 story in the world of sports before we get to number 1. Ja Morant entering a counseling program. That's right, Grizzlies star point guard Ja Morant is going to be away from the Memphis Grizzlies for an undetermined amount of time. No timetable for his return as he seeks assistance to get help. This is a quote, to get help and working on learning better methods of dealing with stress and my overall well-being, end quote. The Grizzlies have indicated that the 23-year-old will be held accountable for a pattern of behavior that culminated in an incident where he brandished a gun on Instagram Live. Despite his absence, Morant has maintained contact with his teammates by text message and some phone calls as well. Nike has expressed support of Morant's prioritization of his well-being, so they have not cut him yet. They have not decided to cut bait from his contract yet, and Ja Morant essentially being given one last chance, I think, to try and make everything right. We'll see what happens with Ja Morant. Hopefully that ends up to be a good situation instead of a horrible, terrible, bad situation that could just, really end up with him dead. Let's be honest. A lot of NBA players or former NBA players have said when you're young and stupid in a position like that, you're waving a gun around, you can end up getting killed. And that is just the facts. Unfortunately, he hasn't really come from, and this is just really annoying to me, he didn't come from a super underprivileged life. He didn't have to really fight, to get out of a terrible situation. into the spotlight with his talent and drag his family out of that. He was an upper middle class kid. Dude was given everything, and a lot of people kind of compare, obviously without the murder, maybe just the acting out, to an Aaron Hernandez type situation with John Morant, because Aaron Hernandez was also from a bit of an upper middle class family. But John Morant, the whole situation's just sad. You really want the kid to make sure he's got his head right on his shoulders. But I just, even the statement there that he says, like, oh, well, I need to learn how to deal with my stress better. So that's how people deal with stress, is they go around and wave guns saying that I'm a badass, because that's kind of what it sounds like for me. That's what sitting back here, just my little white chubby ass in Portland, Oregon, looking at an Instagram live video in a Denver strip club. Going to the strip club's fine, right? That's not an issue at all. Well, a lot of NBA players do that. It's the gun in the strip club that's the issue. And you wonder, did the strip club not search him on the way in? I mean, I'll be honest. I've been to a strip club before, a couple, and it was pretty tight security. I mean, I was astounded when security guard has to bring up his walkie-talkie and be like, all right, we got 2 coming in. It's just like, holy, what the, am I going into the CIA? No, they want to make sure that it's safe in there. They want to make sure it's secure. And I understand, John Morant is John Morant. An NBA star like that probably is going to get much less scrutiny walking into a building like that. But you have got to be kidding me that strip club allowed that dude into their building with a gun. Obviously, not only putting himself at risk, but his buddies with him that were there, not like, I don't know if they cared or not. That's some other conversation for another day. But very frustrating to see that happening, and a strip club just kind of allowing him in the building. Yeah, Ja doesn't get searched. He came through the back door, says Tim, San Francisco Giants spam. Yeah, you're not wrong, Tim, but I would still hope that when you're bringing a star of that caliber in, there's certain rules that you don't enforce, but that's a rule that you can't. No guns, no weapons. That's a rule that you can't really back off on, right? Come on, there's some things they're going to get away with, some iffy stuff that you and I would never be able to do, but NBA stars, of course, I get it, and I'm not really going to mention stuff or get into it, but brandishing a weapon like that, I don't care who you are, you got to go through the metal detector, or you got to be patted down. All right, I'm sorry, don't care who you are, but I hear what you're saying, Tim. You make a valid point. And then the number one story in the world of sports: Jimmy Garapolo signing with the Las Vegas Raiders, agreeing on a 3-year, $67.5 million deal that is about half guaranteed. I think I saw $34 or $37 million guaranteed, so he got more of a guarantee than Geno Smith. Wanted to point that out. Garapolo spending the past 5+ seasons with the 49ers, recording over 13,500 passing yards, 82 touchdowns, and 63 starts, although he missed quite a bit of time in that stretch as well. 30 games over his career with San Francisco due to various injuries to an ankle, shoulder, of course, dislocated shoulder, thumb, knee injuries. So he wasn't a very consistent starter. Had a lot of games missed. Still getting a bungload of money, though. Going to be making about $24-ish million a year. 49ers attempted to trade Jimmy Garapolo last year. Of course, were unsuccessful during the offseason, so he ended up renegotiating a contract down to $8 million to be their backup. Played a ton until he got injured after Trey Lance went down with his ACL injury, handing the reins to Brock Purdy on that $8 million deal that ended up getting some of those incentives added because he was the starter. Now going to be making triple that amount of money, $24-ish million. And he's in a decent place reuniting with McDaniels. I don't think McDaniels is a great head coach, though. Not convinced that he's the answer for any team. Not just, I mean, he obviously wasn't for Denver, but not just for the Vegas Raiders as well, because hearing different rumors about McDaniels and his time in New England and how he was kind of a pushover a little bit, and just the I'll just say it, the bitch boy to Tom Brady. And it wasn't Josh McDaniels running the offense. It was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick running the offense. So we've seen some rumors kind of coming out about that. Makes me wonder if Garoppolo is going to succeed under McDaniels in Vegas. Time will tell, but he gets $67.5 million, $37 million guaranteed to play there. So congrats to Garoppolo, grabbing his bag for sure. Somebody just said in the chat, JML says the Raiders are still going to draft a quarterback. You're probably right, man. You think they're going to go high? Yeah, I can't remember. Let's see what the order of the draft is. But if you think they're going to go high, then why would they pay Jimmy Garapolo $67 million? The Seattle deal makes a little bit more sense with Geno, because they only have to pay him $28 million, can get out of that deal after 1 year. But Jimmy Garapolo could be making a bungload of money for the Raiders. So they're drafting 7th. Do you think there's going to be any decent quarterbacks left by that point? You got Richardson, Stroud, Bryce Young, of course. Young and Stroud are probably going to be the first 2 taken. You also have Will Levis. I don't know. Personally, if I'm the Raiders, I've been saying this a lot about teams. I would wait on taking a team or taking a quarterback if I'm a team looking for a quarterback this year. I think the guys coming out of the Pac-12 next year in Caleb Williams, in Michael Penix, in Bo Nix are going to be so much better. And a lot of guys like Richardson from what I'm seeing. So it's definitely a lot of quarterbacks available this year. Will any of them end up being a star? I'm not so convinced. Bryce Young wouldn't even throw at the combine. He's short. There have really been, seriously, outside of Tua Tagovailoa, who is a more recent example, and he hasn't really had much success yet. Outside of him, Russell Wilson, and Doug effing Flutie. Name me a quarterback that's 5'10", 5'11", that's even gotten to like an AFC championship game or an NFC championship. Nevertheless, won a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray, I guess he could be on that list as well at 5'11". So let's throw him in there. But seriously, outside of these handful of guys, you're telling me a short dude's going to end up being stud in the NFL? No, you got to be 6 foot. You got to see over the line. Tua's even said he can't see over the line. I'm pretty sure Drew Brees, JML, was 6 feet tall. Got to check that out, but I'm pretty sure Drew Brees was 6 feet tall. When you get to 6 feet, there's a lot more guys on that list. But when you talk, and yes, his height is listed at 6 feet. But when you're talking about guys specifically at 5'10", 5'11", it's Kyler Murray, Doug Flutie, Russell Wilson, maybe Tua. There aren't many guys at that height that succeed in the NFL. It's just not a guarantee of success. In fact, it's a guarantee of a pretty short career, usually as a starter in the NFL. All right, let's get into one of my favorite segments of the week. We do it usually on Mondays, but I wanted to get it in on Tuesday this week. What's grinding my gears and your gears in the world of sports?
You know what really grinds my gears?
I'm tired of losing. I'm trying to get my ass beat, and so are those guys.
What's grinding your gears in the world of sports this week?
All right, I teased it a little bit talking in the first segment about college basketball, and obviously we're in the eve of the March Madness tournament starting, both for the men's and women's getting going this weekend. Lots of basketball to watch. But one thing that I cannot stand about college basketball, and one thing that really grinds my gears about it, and let me know in the chat what grinds your gears as well, is how damn boring college basketball is. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe people disagree with me. I was kind of trying to see like how the media's been talking about college basketball as of late. And, you know, since college basketball shortened their shot clock from 35 seconds to 30, there hasn't really been that much discussion, at least in like media's articles, or couldn't even really find many podcasts anywhere talking about how boring the game of college basketball is. And there's many reasons why, for me, it's just not a palatable sport. If you want to push the fundamentals, for one, then you've actually got to get players on the court that want to try to play with those fundamentals. You can't put guys on the court that just don't give an S and then say, well, this is a different game than the NBA. It's a fundamental game of basketball. We emphasize different things here. Well, then why, during this earlier game that I had mentioned in the first segment of the show, Arizona State and USC, Pac-12 tournament game I was watching last, I believe it was Thursday night, and that was the one where Arizona State won. Why, with under a minute and a half left in the game, when USC is, in crunch time, like I said, they really don't have a chance, but still going to make that effort. Why is a player on the defense just waving his hand up, not even looking at the guy holding the ball? The guy dribbling goes in for a layup with his right hand. And Bill Walton, the color analyst on the game, is like, defender wasn't even looking at the ball. He was looking somewhere in the arena while lazily raising up his hand. You kidding me? So that's one reason I can't stand college basketball. I cannot stand the emphasis on fundamentals, yet the lack of actual practice of those fundamentals. I get it. These guys are 18, they're 19, but it is just so annoying to me. It makes no sense that you can sit there and say that this product is going to make a ton of money, for announcers when we're all just kind of sitting there drooling for 10 minutes, waiting for timeouts to happen, waiting for reviews to happen. It's a slow game. It's a slow game for sure. What was it? 35-30, shortening that shot clock by 5 seconds. Doesn't do much, in my opinion. Doesn't do much for the actual game of basketball. In going forward, I don't think that there's going to be a long shot clock. I think at some point they're going to shorten it to the NBA length. They have to. They just can't, because the game is considered amateur, keep doing what they're doing with the game of basketball. Just not watchable for me. Guys are not entertaining enough. It's just, isn't it one of the reasons we necessarily don't, watch WNBA basketball very much, because it's a little too fundamental? And at least in the WNBA, they're good at the fundamentals. I think Adam Silver said this in an interview that the actual demographic of fans of WNBA basketball is middle-aged men that like the game fundamentally, that want to watch things done well. College doesn't have that. Doesn't happen in the game of college basketball. And I love March Madness. I love the tourney. Every single year, I think that there's a lot of things that are fun to watch about it, and a lot of things that, placing bets, playing in your office tournament bracket competitions, filling out your bracket for yourself, seeing how far you get along, try to win all those $1 million prizes or whatever is out there for those perfect brackets. It's fun. But you don't ever watch until, and this isn't, P1 college basketball fan. We're talking the general basketball fan. You don't watch until today, right? There's no freaking reason that college basketball should be as boring as it is, but I don't know, guys, just let it happen running the game still. There's just so many stupid rules that don't allow the game to move along. You can call timeouts after if you're the away team, or I guess I should say the team that didn't just get the ball. No, I'm totally screwing this up. If you're the team that made free throws, so you're shooting the free throws, your player's at the line, you make both of those, you can call a timeout. What the hell's that? Macamanius is also, a lot of these college players lack the IQ of the game. That's true too, and that's kind of what I was getting at with that dude just kind of listfully looking up somewhere else in the arena. Clara Berger asking how much I can bench. Not enough. I should be able to bench more, but not enough. And yeah, we see a couple of comments in the chat. JML says college basketball has been ruined by the one and done. Transfer portals as well. I mean, I actually like transfer portals. I do think that there is a positive that has been added to the game, basically with a faux free agency. I like it. I think that there's something to be said about players being able to choose where they can go and not locked into something for, their initial 4-year agreement. But then there's the other side of the coin where it's well, it could be better if those guys had to stay there for 4 years. And I see what you're saying, JML. Macamania says these college basketball guys need to work on skills and stop just trying to be the next big name. Just play the game. Stop the showboats. You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. Yeah, but that's what I was saying. Just a lot of these guys lack the IQ. I was getting at that as well. I think I got Alabama and Brandon Miller winning it. Schultzy, LOL, says Tim, San Francisco Giants man. Well, good for you, buddy. I don't think they're going to win it, but I guess you and a lot of other people do. So, I hope I'm wrong. I'll give you my bracket here coming up on Actually, I think tomorrow, because Thursday I'm going to be out at A&A with the rest of 1080 The Fan staff doing a live local remote there. But tomorrow, give you my NCAA bracket and let you know who I think is going to be going to the Final Four. Yeah, he's probably still going to be the number one pick. You're not wrong about Brandon Miller. Another topic for another day, but goodness gracious. But yeah, just the game of basketball being so boring, really grinds my gears. You can call timeouts after you make a free throw. You don't advance the ball after you go from a timeout. That's ridiculous to me. You keep it from being exciting at the end. You keep teams from having a chance to win a game. I love it in the NBA. I can't remember when they decided to do that. I think it was around the time that I was like 5, 6, or 7 years old. They decided after a timeout in the NBA, if you're under 2 minutes, you will advance the ball to half court. It gives many more opportunities for baskets to be scored, many opportunities for chaos. So I'm not really a fan of the way that they play the entire game of college basketball, down to even there's this stupid rule in college. If you notice, players cannot wear the numbers 6, 7, 8, or 9 on their jerseys. So there's no 8. There's no numbers. There's no number 58. There's no number 59. There's no 6. There's no 9. There's no 69. Heyo. You know why? Simply for the referees to avoid having issues when they flash the numbers over to the scorers table for foul calls. Literally, that's it. So it's like, instead of them having to do like a number 9 here, like 5, 9, I'm trying to get my hands in the camera there, 5 and 9. No, we can't do that. That takes them too long. So we just need this. So foul on number 2. It's like, you guys, are you serious? This is what is holding the game of college basketball back. Stop it. Take these kinds of rules out. Macamania asking, what do you think of the OTE League? It's the Overtime Elite League. I haven't really watched enough of it, so not really sure exactly what to think about it. But I will say I'm kind of sick of these extra leagues being thrown together with, a little bit of money. And I understand it's a chance for guys to play professional basketball, and the true fans of, any kind of sport on a court anywhere. Like, I love sports, but I'm not just going to tune in to watch it just because some guys are playing somewhere. Like, I got other things to do. And if you're just creating these leagues, the Overtime Elite League, like, are there a difference in rules or something like there is with the XFL? Or is it just another semi-pro league, essentially, in between, like, college and the G League? High school kids take it in and paid instead of going to college and playing mature. I got you, Macamania. You know what? The OTE League, I guess that's... To me, that sounds like a little bit of a continuation of like AAU basketball, but as these guys become adults, just my take on it. I don't think it's going to last long because guys can wait 1 year and go to the G League, and their exposure is going to be so much higher in college basketball because we're talking about so many eyes being on them. So many more eyes. So much more exposure in college basketball than they would the OTE League, which I think is going to be much more important for them long term. But hey, if they want that paycheck, if there's some guys that think that they are never going to like actually get to the NBA and they want to make the money now when they can, I can't beleaguer them either. I think there's a lot of people out there that would say they'd be stupid if they didn't do that. All right, so that's what's grinding my gears. The world of college basketball just being so boring. I can't stand it. I hate it. I hate that it's held back by stupid little rules like timeouts allowed to be called after you make a free throw, or not advancing the ball up past half court after a timeout under 2 minutes, that kind of thing. Why you still play 2 20-minute halves? I mean, why not have just 4 quarters at this point? If they're going to be 10 minutes, make them 10 minutes, but they should still have 4 quarters. I don't get why there needs to be 2 20-minute halves. Just ridiculous. Just stupid. All right. Getting into some NFL talk, switching gears. Are the Packers in a game of chicken with the New York Jets? Let's talk Aaron Rodgers and the ongoing saga of A-Rod to New York. Of course, yesterday the rumors started swirling that a decision had been made. I think the report from Trey Wingo, somebody else said it in the chat earlier, was that Aaron Rodgers was going to the Jets. It is happening. It is for sure. But we're sitting here about a day later, nothing has happened. So what's going on? What's going on? Well, reports say that the two teams may be caught in a game of chicken. Some believe that the Jets are lowballing the Packers, while the Packers recognize the Jets want Aaron Rodgers really, really bad. Derek Carr, Jimmy Garapolo going elsewhere. Those plan C's have kind of all dried up for the New York Jets. At this point, it's Aaron Rodgers or bust, unless they maybe make a last-second run for Lamar Jackson, or all of a sudden people saying that Matthew Stafford is available for the Rams. I'm not sure that's actually true. I'm sure they wouldn't mind getting out of his contract, but who knows? So the point is, Jets don't really have a plan B up to this point, unless they do decide to go last minute after Lamar or Matthew Stafford. So what are the Packers going to do? Are they going to give Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, essentially? Or is Aaron Rodgers going to force the Packers' hand, stay with Green Bay? Interesting conversations we've been having for the last week and a half about Aaron Rodgers. Last week, CEO Mark Murphy, this is CEO for the Packers, said that Rodgers would be the starter in 2023, quote, if things don't work out the way we want them, end quote. Green Bay has moved on from Aaron Rodgers. They're ready to go with Jordan Love, baby. From Green Bay's perspective, it's essentially down to try to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, force him to retire, and get Jordan Love under center. Cap hit for the Packers is pretty bad if he ends up getting traded before June 1st, but they're still willing to make that deal. They want to get him off the books. They could actually, after June 1st, say Aaron Rodgers waits another 3 months to process a retirement, per se. If that happens, Packers could save $24 million. So there's a bunch at play here for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. It's costing them money, but they want to get him off their books. That's how bad they want to be done with him. But Aaron Rodgers holds all the cards here. Aaron Rodgers holds all the cards here. You can tell the Packers, hey, I want to play one more year. And they know, even though they're paying him $60 million, that he's the best option that they got. They just want to move on from him. Jeffrey Lohman says anything Aaron Rodgers can do, continue to bring down the Packers is all good. I love it. That's pretty funny. Got some anti-Packers fans in here. I like it. But yeah, Rodgers holds all the cards here. Really, really not clear, even after his room of darkness for 4 days, whether or not he wants to stay with Green Bay, though. You know, the Packers, this is also worth noting, are not owned by some rich oligarch. They are not owned by some billionaire. They are a publicly held corporation. All them Packers fans hold those certificates of ownership, right? So Aaron Rodgers holding them at bay. Holding them hostage as well. The Packers and Jets need to get this worked out, essentially. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, coming out the last couple hours or so, or at least a report has come out that Aaron Rodgers wants to be surrounded by some of his BFF if he goes to the Jets. That list of BFFs includes Odell Beckham Jr., also Alan Lazard, who JML just says the Jets are going to pick up. So breaking news, guys, here on Real Schultzy Sports. New York Jets signing Alan Lazard. Also a wish list of Randall Cobb and tight end Mercedes Lewis. Aaron Rodgers wants to throw to all his guys. Wouldn't be surprised if like Adam Thielen ended up on that list. The Jets already have 3 starters, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis. And Wilson, of course, was the offensive rookie of the year. Corey Davis might be the odd man out in that group of guys, right? But Lazard is coming in, it looks like. The Jets are going to have to take on all of his salary. Talking about Aaron Rodgers, salaries cannot be paid by the former team, says JML, unless they are cut. That is correct. That is correct. So I guess I was kind of wrong saying that the Packers are trying to get out of his contract regardless, but it's just they're done with him. They're absolutely done with him. They need to move on, and this deal just needs to get done. But it sounds like Jets and the Packers are in a game of chicken right now, probably just arguing over value, probably just arguing over who's actually thinking he's worth 3 first-round picks versus who's thinking he's worth 2 first-round picks. There's a lot to be talked about here. Macabanius is the NFL, the only sport with a salary cap. I know that the NBA also has a salary cap. I do believe, though, that like the penalties in the NFL and the way that the salary cap works in the National Football League, it is much tougher to get out of, cap hits and different things of guys being under contract. The numbers are so much more confusing and convoluted than they are in like Major League Baseball or the NBA. So there's a lot more guaranteed money in the NBA and in Major League Baseball. In the NFL, there's a lot more money sticking around, hitting the salary cap, affecting teams years down the road. All right, so that's the update on the Aaron Rodgers saga. I was kind of hoping, like, while we were talking about him, he'd just sign or get traded to the Jets, and then they'd end up signing like 2 or 3 of his guys. Well, they signed one of his guys. Breaking news, Alan Lazard going to the Jets. And I bet you Corey Davis is going to be on his way out of New York here pretty shortly. All right, let's get into our next segment really quickly before we do some daily DGen picks. It's called Would You Rather, a sports edition.
Let's play Would You Rather, a sports edition.
Sometimes in life, the hardest decisions are the toughest.
All right, Would You Rather? Play this game every week here on Real Schultzy Sports and the Daily Sports Watch. Sports-themed questions based on the college drinking game that we all played, Would You Rather? Would you rather suck on my toe after I ran a marathon, or would you rather drink a 7-day-old beer? Like that kind of crap. Those Would You Rathers. But sports-themed. First, Would You Rather? Would you rather keep NFL kickoffs the way that they are, or would you rather transition to the way that the XFL is doing it? Would you rather keep NFL kickoffs the way that they are, or would you rather transition to the way that the XFL has introduced kickoffs? So this actually has been thrown around for a bit. I saw this idea posted on, I think it was Secret Base's YouTube channel a few years ago, talking about how kickoffs are boring and onside kickoffs especially could be replaced by a much more exciting way for the team to potentially get the ball back and get possession back at the end of the game. Make a lot more games a lot closer. So this is that. Philadelphia Eagles seeking NFL approval to replace the onside kick with an XFL-style alternative. This new rule would allow teams to maintain possession after a score by completing a 4th and 20 play from their own 20-yard line. So essentially get backed up to your own 20, and they would have to convert on a 4th and 20. The XFL employs a similar back-to-back possession rule, while the Eagles and Broncos have proposed their own alternatives in previous season. The Denver Broncos also proposed something like this a couple years ago. The NFL actually tested out a 4th and 15 conversion rule at the 2020 Pro Bowl. I remember that. I love it. I think it makes the game more exciting. We're talking about keeping eyes on stuff. So overall, I think that when you're discussing whether or not you want teams to have an extra shot at the end of the game, that's obvious you do. I guess the real question is, do you want to make it a little easier for teams? Well, I don't think that it's actually going to be that much easier. I think statistically, yes, you do give more teams a chance to convert and get the ball back, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to score. That just sets up a more exciting finish in the last minute. I mean, maybe if you're looking at Tom Brady and you give him a 4th and 20, he'll convert every time and you'll never lose to the New England Patriots or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or whoever the hell he was playing for, because Tom Brady's the GOAT. I get it. But if I had a choice, I would rather go with the way the XFL's doing things. I love these kickoffs. I think they're much more exciting, and I think they add a layer to the game. And kickoffs in general, the way that they are now, are just boring. Lots of injuries happen, and it's really not worth it for those injuries to happen. So guys are in danger essentially for nothing, because nothing's happening on those plays. They rarely produce a kickoff return for touchdown. And onside kicks have essentially been cut at the knees in the last 5 years because now you can't have guys lining up on one side and one side only, which is ridiculous to me. Either bring that back or do this the way that the XFL is doing kickoffs. So my answer to this, would you rather keep NFL kickoffs the way that they are currently or do it the way the XFL is doing it? I think Pat McAfee said he hates it. I totally disagree. I love the way that they're doing this in the XFL, and I think the NFL should be doing that going forward. Going to save a lot of injuries and make the game more exciting. All right. And let me know in the chat what you guys think as well. I want to hear your opinions. Blaze1 says XFL. Mockamania says you better have a solid pass rush, D. You're not wrong, Mockamania. See, this exposes a weak defense for sure. This exposes, if you can't, stop a team from scoring 65 yards out, you're screwed, bro. And Mockamania says I'd rather drink the 7-day-old beer. That's funny. Just trying to give you all an example, back in the day at college, that's how would you rather goes. All right, last would you rather. Would you rather taking on the guilt of injuring someone during a game or accept no fault and blame it on the nature of football? Would you rather take on the guilt of injuring someone during a game or accept no fault and blame it on the nature of football? This comes from the recent comments made by Jason Kelce, defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, he was the one that injured Brock Purdy's UCL, and that was quite it was gruesome when you watch it, man. Just trying to get your throw off and the arm get stopped mid-motion by somebody as big and strong as Jason Kelce. That was pretty gruesome to watch. He was obviously in a lot of pain, Brock Purdy was, and essentially ended up having Tommy John surgery to replace it. Well, Jason Kelce ended up saying, this was on the New Heights podcast, says that he sympathized with the 49ers and its fan base due to Brock Purdy's elbow injury in the NFC Championship game. He applauded Purdy for attempting to play through the UCL that was torn and praised San Francisco for getting to the title game with 3 backup quarterbacks. However, he wished the Eagles had faced a fully healthy version of their opponents. Faced a fully healthy version of their opponents in the game. And I guess I understand what he's saying on that, but I don't know, man. It's the game of football, right? You can't feel too bad about an injury. It's the NFL. This isn't Pop Warner League. This isn't even college. I understand costing a guy some bread, costing a guy some money, but I don't know. I usually lean on the side of like being a little soft here. I think that it's good to care about other people, but it wasn't a life-threatening injury. It might have cost him some time on the field, So yeah, if it's a life-threatening injury, I'm gonna feel guilty. I'm gonna feel terrible. I'm gonna feel like what was it T. Higgins or I think that was the Bengals wide receiver. Yeah, I think it was T. Higgins that ended up putting that hit on Damar Hamlin that essentially caused him to go into cardiac arrest, and he couldn't stay out of the hospital. And correct me if I'm wrong if it was the other Bengals wide receiver, but he can stay out of the hospital for the first 2 or 3 days. So it's it goes both ways. In that sense, of course, you're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel terrible. But if I'm Jason Kelce here and Brock Purdy, who was already their third quarterback, got injured on a very football-esque play, what are you going to do? It's SSS passes. It was T. Higgins. So yeah, if I'm T. Higgins in that situation, of course I feel guilt. So would you rather feel guilt or just accept that it's a part of the nature of the NFL? I would say I think there's some circumstances that it has to be based on. Yeah, if it's a life-threatening injury and something that is just so scary that nobody expected, that really affects what's going on off the field, where we're all just trying to live, we're all just trying to make a living, be healthy, go home to our families. And Mockamania, though, says on the other side of the coin, about Brock Purdy's injury, says it was a rare and unintentional injury. You're not wrong, Mockamania. And I understand why Jason Kelce would want to say he feels guilt. But then I feel like on the other side of that, it's easy to say it's rare and unintentional. It doesn't happen very often. And that is the nature of NFL football. It's what it is, man. guys getting hit with Mack trucks essentially every 12 seconds every Sunday for 17 weeks. Yeah, Macamania says, if you're stepping on legs like Sue, then you should feel guilty. Yeah, that's different. Yeah, if you're a dirty player, we're not talking about dirty players. Jason Kelce, obviously not a dirty player. Just wondering if you guys side with him, thinking, that he should be feeling that guilt, or if he should be maybe he's taking a step back and removing himself from it personally, saying, dude, it's the game of football. It's what happens. All right, that's our edition of Would You Rather today. And now let's get into the Daily DGen picks here on the Daily Sports Watch. If I can find the benchmark. There we go. Sorry, guys. Now we got it.
He's a degenerate gambler.
Cold hard cash.
All right, Daily DGen picks here on Real Schultzy Sports, the Daily Sports Watch for Tuesday, March 14th. I'll give you my bracket tomorrow. Let you know exactly who I'm picking, who I am going to be going with in March Madness. But got a lean and a lock of the day for you so far. Lean and a lock here on Real Schultzy Sports today. 4-1 so far. 4-2, excuse me, in my leans of the day. 4-2 on my leans of the day. Last lean of the day was Arkansas +6 versus Tennessee. That was total skunk. I was not right about that. Ended up being way off. Tennessee won by 18. Arkansas not even close in that game. So no go on the lean of the day. Last time I was on here on the Daily Sports Watch. Today, lean of the day looking actually a little bit locally because this game's happening here in Portland at Moda tonight. I think, and this is going against my Blazers, I think the Knicks are going to cover 1.5 versus the Blazers in the first half. The Knicks are going to cover 1.5 versus the Blazers. They will beat the Blazers in the first half by 2 points. That is, according to DraftKings, I believe, paying even money. The Knicks aren't going to have Jalen Brunson, and the Blazers are at least listing Jeremy Grant and Damian Lillard as questionable. For this game, though, I'm less interested in injuries and more focused on trends. Of course, the Blazers are terrible. They've been terrible. And when you look at the first half spread, check this out. They're just 2-7 against the first half spread so far this season. That's a pretty bad result, man. Oh my God, the Blazers are terrible. I'm just astounded how bad the Blazers have been the past few games. And the Knicks are one of the best first half teams in the NBA. Their success travels. 22-13 against the spread on the road. As road favorites, the Knicks are 5-3 while their offense sees a noticeable dip in continuity without Brunson. I still think that they could pull it off. They're one of the better shooting three-point teams in the NBA as well. So are the Blazers. But if they don't have Damon Grant, the Blazers are sunk. At least they've got a couple of other weapons there. At least like you can lean on Julius Randle a little bit in New York. The Blazers, outside of Grant and Dame, if they've got Ant, he's at 60% right now because he just came back from a grade 2 sprain. So I don't see the Blazers winning this game or the first half. So that's my lean of the day today. Knicks cover the 1.5 point spread against the Blazers in the first half. Lock of the day. Lock of the day here on Real Schultzy Sports. Unfortunately, lost the lock of the day last time I was on as well. I picked Matisse Thybulle to have over 1.5 steals. He only ended up having 1 in that game against the Wizards. The Blazers ended up losing against the Wizards, and Matisse just didn't play enough in the fourth quarter for him to get that second steal. Bad couple of picks. And I apologize. Last week, y'all. All right, today, though, I think this is going to be fairly easy lock of the day. Nuggets to win against the Raptors. Nuggets money line straight up to win against the Toronto Raptors. Essentially, it's like at a pick 'em right now. Some books have it at 1. Some books have it at 1.5 points for a spread. I think that Denver v. Toronto on the road. I know Denver hasn't been as good of a road team scoring-wise, but I just don't think Toronto has it. Denver's one of the best teams, one of the 2 best teams in the NBA. Nikola Jokic going into the last 15 games of the season. This is where you really hope that your team starts to gel, and play well at the right time, I think that the Nuggets are not going to let up on the gas pedal, and I don't see Toronto matching up with them, even though they're on their home floor. 5 games this month, Toronto ranked 30th in opponent field goal percentage and 29th in opponent three-point percentage. They are allowing their opponents to score a ton, even at home. So I think this is going to be an easy win today. For my lock of the day, the Nuggets are going to win in Toronto against the Raptors. That is almost an even payout, minus 105. So you got to bet 105 to make 100. And that is your daily DGen picks here on Real Schultzy Sports. All right, you guys. So I kind of wanted to shorten this show up a little bit to an hour. I was talking with my dad, and we're at about an hour right now after the 5-minute lead-in for the countdown at the beginning. My dad was saying, Jordan, I love your show. It's looking really good. However, one piece of advice, I don't really have more than an hour in a sitting to listen to something. If I'm going through a podcast or if I'm listening to a radio show, like the general amount of time people spend in the car is usually an hour. So that's kind of something that I took to heart and was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I think that that's actually a really good idea. And I wanted to shorten up a little bit. I was kind of trying to do more towards like an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes, but no, my dad's right. It makes sense to just keep it to an hour. So that's why it's a little bit shorter today. But that is all I have for you today, you guys. Been a pretty loaded show. I was hoping Aaron Rodgers would make his move before the show ended, but that did not happen. So we'll be back live tomorrow at noon Pacific, 3 East Coast time. Hopefully we'll have an answer on the Aaron Rodgers saga. Allen Lazard going to the Jets. That did happen during the show. As well as a ton of other moves around the NFL. Tremaine Edmonds, he gone from Buffalo. He gone. Going to Chicago. A couple other backup quarterbacks on the move as well. Heineke going to be in Atlanta. I think he'll be starting after like 4 games. I really do. I don't think that there's going to be much for Desmond Ridder there. I think it's a Jason Campbell 2.0 situation with Desmond Ridder. I do not think Atlanta going with a 3rd-round pick as their starting quarterback is going to end up being successful this year. Why you moved on from Matt Ryan after you failed to get Deshaun Watson is beyond me. Why you can't just let him finish up his career gracefully. He could have started for you last year. It would have been less tumultuous. I champion that his lack of success in Indianapolis was more so because he was in Indianapolis and he had to go to a different place for the first time ever in his career. That's going to jar you. That's going to jolt you. Remember, these guys are humans. So, Atlanta, you're a mess right now. And Ritter's your starter. Ridiculous. But yeah, we talked about that. Mike White, of course, going to the Dolphins. John Morant going into counseling. And who will the Jets sign to join Allen Lazard if they can get Aaron Rodgers to New York? I think it's a done deal, but we'll see exactly going forward what that story is unfolding, because it's been drama for 2.5 weeks, man. Who knows? Tomorrow we could get a whole other piece of news that throws everything off the rails and Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. God damn. All right, everybody. Hope you've had a beautiful Tuesday and you continue to have a beautiful Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow here on Real Schultzy Sports and the Daily Sports Watch. Hope you make some money off of these daily DGen picks, too. I'm going to be starting to fill my bracket out tonight. I've not filled mine out, and I will let you all know exactly what it is tomorrow. Hopefully we can talk some more quarterback movement tomorrow, and hopefully I'm reacting to a Blazers win tomorrow. Hopefully. All right, everybody. Thanks again for checking in. You've been listening to the Daily Sports Watch on Real Schultzy Sports and wherever you get your podcasts. Real Schultzy out. Be good to yourselves and each other. Stay safe, y'all. See you tomorrow.